And I started by saying that it's harder for women to be themselves. And some of the women I'm going to mention, all these women worked to say, I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to stand in my power. We still don't hear as much about it in history, although it's getting better, at the contributions that women made. Now, I have a picture hanging on my wall that's got 4 women, and we'll pull that up. And we're going to talk about this. So the first one is Frida Kahlo. Not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb. I love that. So this woman was alive in 1907. She had a short lifespan. She died in 1954. But 1907 to 1954, go back to that, the early 20th century there. She was a Mexican painter. Most people know her for her art. But she was also an activist. She was also working for social justice. She was also working for gender equality, clear back then. She was also working to change class issues and race issues, feminist issues, LGBTQ issues, whatever they were back then. This woman was very politically involved, and she expressed a lot of that through her art. And there's a strongness and there's a toughness about her. Most of her pictures, she looks strong, fragile, not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb. The next one is Maya Angelou. Be still, but still, like air arise. I want to read something about her for you. I have this book called Bad Girls Throughout History. Now, it would be nice to just say strong women throughout history, but Bad Girls is still what we're calling it. And I love this little book. Thank you, Vonnie, for reminding me that I had this book, because I kind of forgotten about it. It's full of different women in history. And here's Maya Angelou. And right over here off to the side, it has a quote of hers. And the quote says, "You've got to go out and kick ass." Many considered Maya Angelou, so her lifespan, 1928 to 2014, a U.S. national treasure. A writer, activist, filmmaker, actor, and lecturer well into her 80s, Angelou transcended her humble upbringing in deeply racist Arkansas to create a vast body of work that helped change the landscape of American culture. After a traumatic childhood, I'm emphasizing deeply racist, traumatic childhood, she did not have it easy. After a traumatic childhood event that she would later chronicle in her game-changing memoir, I Know What a Caged Bird Sings, Angelou became extraordinarily gifted in arts and literature and earned a scholarship to a San Francisco high school. As a teen, she became the first African-American female cable car conductor in San Francisco. She became a mom at 16 and married a Greek aspiring musician, flouting the existing laws forbidding interracial marriage. Angelou studied dance with legendary choreographer Al Vanelli and became a staple on the calypso music and dance scene performer. She also toured Europe with the production of the opera Porgy and Bess. After meeting novelist John Oliver Killens in 1959, she joined the Harlem Writers Guild and published her first written work. She became a civil rights activist and worked alongside Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. Angelou would go on to write 36 books. Jeez. Yes, earning the honor of being both banned. Wait, I'm reading this wrong. 36 books, earning the honor of both being on the banned books list. Love that. And holding the record for the longest running nonfiction book on the New York Times bestseller. So I'm not saying I like it that her books are banned. I think that there's an honor about saying we're going to ban your books, because that means there is something in them that we're going to empower people, right? In addition to her roles in producing, writing, and directing film and television, Angelou became the first African-American woman to pen a screenplay that was actually made into a film, the Pulitzer Prize-nominated Georgia, Georgia. She won 3 Grammys for her spoken word albums, served on 2 presidential committees, and became the first female poet to compose and recite a poem for a presidential inauguration, Bill Clinton's in 1993. Showered with accolades at the end of her life, Angelou was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor by President Barack Obama in 2010. Angelou was fittingly recognized in her lifetime for her work that opened America's hearts and minds.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're interested, that goes throughout history. So another one who's in here is Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
I will give these back to you, sir. Thank you, son.
Thank you.
Okay. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is the next one. I almost brought my Halloween mask, but I didn't. Speak your mind.
That was great.
I was her for Halloween 2 years ago, and I had this actual photograph mask and freaked Richard out. And I wore my black ministerial robe. Speak your mind, even if your voice shakes. Underneath it says dissent. And we all know that she was on the Supreme Court. Did you know that she was only the second woman to ever be on the Supreme Court? Before that, she had to fight her way through law school because it was a man's world. So to be a woman in a law school, there was like 5 women out of 5,000 people. It was really, really tough. She was even asked at an interview, well, why do you think you deserve here rather than a better, what was the word? A better suited man. She was asked that question. She had to say for herself, this is why I belong here, rather than some guy that could have taken her place. She was part of the ruling to allow same-gender marriage. For me, that will be one of her biggest legacies in my mind. And at one point in school, apparently people called her a bitch, and she had a quote that said, better bitch than mouse. That's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the last one on this particular picture is Michelle Obama. Never underestimate the power of a girl with a book.
Yeah.
I'm reading her book right now called Becoming. And it's beautiful. I'm not all the way through it, but I know enough to know that as a young girl, she was smart and she liked books, but she was also in a world where she wasn't supposed to be that smart. And she did anyway, and she read and she read, and she figured out at a young age, I'm going to Harvard. And it was quite an ordeal, but as we all know, she got there. And as we all know, she was the first lady and a damn good one. And very smart women at a time when black women weren't supposed to be smart. You know, don't get me started on that. But, never underestimate the power of a girl with a book. It's so important. Now, someone that's not on here that has, in the last 5 years, I'd say, come to my attention, thank you to Bonnie and Marie, is this woman named Reverend Joan Chittister. Sister Joan Chittister, not Reverend, sister. She was a Catholic nun. If you've never read any of Sister Joan Chittister, she is a voice of women's advocacy, especially in religion, because women, in the Catholic world, no, women are still not allowed. She speaks up. She's speaking up about women. She's speaking about women in church. She's speaking up about women who are aging. And basically what she's saying is, come on, women, stand in your power. It's huge for a nun to be out there. Speak your mind even if your voice shakes. I think that applies to Joan Chittister. And I can go on and on and on. I can stand here for hours. We can all talk and have a discussion about all kinds of women that made a difference. I happen to be a Food Network junkie. Have you noticed how many women now are chefs and how many of them are rising to the top of the competitions? That's relatively new. The chefs were most of the men. Women were expected to cook at home, but the chefs were men. They are rising, and I love it when the women, they win. It's like, woo, they're really up there. New thought pioneers, our own movement right here. There's so many. You've all heard the name Emma Curtis Hopkins, Mary Baker Eddy. You've heard these names. Peggy Bassett, who was my minister. Marianne Williamson. A lot of really strong pioneers and new thought leaders just right here. We can go on and on for days. You get my point. You live my point. Lastly, it's really nice that the opportunities and the mindset are changing. It is really, really good, because I guarantee you that their grandchild called Maven over here is not going to be taught that she has to be squashed. She's going to be taught, she is being taught, that her voice matters and she gets to stand in her power. And this little girl is going to grow up to be someone who never knew what it was like to be squashed down. Watch out, world. we'll check in 25 years and see where Maven's at. But that's changing all over the place, and I love it. So I'm going to just say to us, let's continue to be part of the people who help this evolve alongside the young women of today. Let's just continue to be part of a world that works for everyone. And in the meantime, we honor women who have made a big contribution. So Let us pray. We will pray that. One power, whatever we call it. Call it God, call it Goddess, call it the universe, call it mind, call it the presence, call it spirit. One creative, intelligent energy expressing through everyone. The God of my understanding knows no distinction between men or women, only to be expressed as energies of masculine and feminine, but not men and women as people. All one. The God of my understanding within me is just as powerful. And this is true for all of us. And so my prayer is real simple. That we continue to be the ones who evolve equality in this world alongside the younger generation. My prayer is that we continue to be the ones to create a world that works for everyone in our own perfect ways. And as we do this, the prayer that I speak my word for the most is that we know it for ourselves. Men, women, children, they, them, he, she, whatever we go by, that we all know for ourselves that we are God in expression and what's not to love. And so we raise our voices strong and let our authenticity shine, and it's good and very good. I'm grateful for it, and I just released this prayer, and join me in saying, and so it is. So it is. Probably edit that one a little bit.